Hello guys, fancy seeing you here. Now, during the final weeks of school, I was feeling extremely creative, but I was holding out until I was actually free. And now I'm even more free because I'm back in the UK, back to share all my little silly thoughts with you. If you would like to see a little holiday art dump near the end of the summer, let me know because I would be extremely happy to oblige. Anyway, enough chit chat and let's get into today's subject. Okay, feast your eyes on peak character design. Now, these characters, no matter how different they look, have one thing in common. I'll give you 3 seconds to guess. 3, 2, 1. Okay, you guessed it. They're all evil. So today, as shown by the thumbnail, I will be discussing how to create the backbone of any story or universe, the villains. But Opal, why does this relate to you? All your characters look like a unicorn through I mean, valid. But I have recently created an antagonist for one of my Battlecat universes, and I did post a short on her anticipating this video. So today I will be giving some backstory on her as well as some overall key things to keep in mind when writing your own bad guys. First of all, however, I would like to get us into the right mindset by taking one of these villains here. Let's go with Scar, the antagonist of this iconic movie I'm sure many of you have watched. However, if you haven't watched The Lion King, I recommend you skip to this timestamp now and go watch it as soon as you finish the video, and then you can come back to my little rant. In the original animated version released in 1994, Scar wishes to be king of the Pride over his older, stronger brother Mufasa. As a result of this, he murders his brother using a carefully conducted plan for manipulating Mufasa's single heir Simba to leave the Pride lands. In terms of his assets, Scar is extremely intelligent, he even states it himself, and he is also backed by a whole pack of hyenas. In terms of his defeat, there was no cringy ending. In fact, the plot twist made sense. In the end, he's undone by his own selfishness since he never cared about his henchmen, and when they realize he was using them, it's poetic and honestly satisfying that they turn on him. Okay, now I'm going to talk about Scar again, but not just in the original. I'm going to talk about Scar in the most recently released movie set in the Lion King universe. I'm sure you know where this is going. In the movie Mufasa, here we go, we learn about the brothers' past. Scar, obviously, had a different name back then, and it was Taka. Taka and Mufasa are not related in this movie. Mufasa is adopted by Scar's mother, who favours him due to the fact he literally saved her life while Taka ran away. See, now it's not even about sibling rivalry anymore. Now, the two brothers eventually leave in search of the Pride lands, and this is where they meet Sarabi, who fans know to be the mate of Mufasa. So, the minute Scar started showing interest in Sarabi, I was...
You smell like a duck.
What? I wasn't even disappointed. I was betrayed that such an amazing villain, based on the works of Shakespeare himself, had been reduced to such a cliche, predictable orange story taken out of... What? Orange story? I love orange stories. To such a cliche, predictable origin story taken out of a high school musical, like, I can hear Shakespeare rolling in his grave right now. Ever since I saw the trailer even, I was so baffled why the writers of this film decided to take away the one justifiable reason Scar had for being jealous and turn it into a boring love triangle trope. And oh, don't even get me started on the whole animation and design problems. Number 1, you can't get across the same features on a realistic CGI lion as you can on one that has been handcrafted by a professional designer. Otherwise you get weird monstrosities like this. The angular-shaped language used on Scar, as well as his hunched shoulders and lithe build, back up his character and make us think, even as soon as we've seen his plain silhouette, ah yes, this one is the problem. Don't get me wrong, the animation in the live action was amazing, the lighting was extremely gorgeous and majestic, but if I'm being honest, half the time I couldn't tell Mufasa and Taka apart. Like, who looks at this and thinks, ah yes, you've come so far? If by coming so far you mean falling down from the top of the Burj Khalifa, then yeah, you have. The least they could have done was stay more true to Scar's original design, which is still like 100% realistic because you get lions like this in the wild. Like, the decisions made were just poor, and I walked out of that cinema thinking, wow, Scar is really just a petty baby. I didn't get to know his character better at all, and I just watched it be downgraded over a duration of 2 hours. Well, I didn't drink, but there's no water here. Okay, rant over. Welcome back to those who skipped. Just a little disclaimer before I move on to this section. I want to remind everyone that I am not an author, not trained in this at all. I am literally just some random girl on the internet who likes making stories up for entertainment purposes. So you can take these tips with a pinch of salt. Anyway, first order of operation, how do you come up with villains in the first place? For this girl here, she is based in my Covens of the Elements universe, which is my Warrior Cat spin-off story where each clan, or coven as I've called them, has their own elemental powers. Essentially, they're just magic cats, so I'm not going to get into that. So, I was thinking while making these 4 elemental covens and deciding what powers to give each one, what if one cat had all of the elemental powers to themselves? Simple idea, right? And that's where Ash Rain of the Hell Roses was born, but I'll just call her Ash for now. At this point, she's an ambitious and power-hungry villain. Pretty basic, but it gets better, I promise. My next step is to give her motivation and beliefs for why she wants what she wants. Ash was neglected by her mother, the seer or leader of the coven, and had to rely on her father, an average ranked cat called Rowan Wing, to raise her. This is already a reason for her to dislike the current leadership over the covens. Furthermore, her family was split up after her mother left them for another cat, so now Ash views separation as a weakness, and since the 4 elemental covens are divided, she believes the only way to achieve each one's best potential is together. And unity of the covens requires domination of one cat, not 4 separate seers. From there, she begins draining others of their powers in order for her to one day wield all of the elements. Now, a lot of villains usually have a turning point where they go from just doing what they think is right to full-blown insanity. For Ash, this happened during her naming ceremony, where the seer, or her mother, is supposed to welcome her into the coven as a full Emberkin. However, her mother is instead shown by the flame spirits all of the things her daughter has been doing in order to take over, and she refuses to name her, choosing to exile Ash Rain from the coven forever. Ash snaps at this, and she attempts to kill her mother's new mate, the healer. She is stopped at the last second when her mother disfigures her face using elemental fire magic, but she vows to come back and swears revenge on those who hurt her. One thing to note though is that tragic backstories are never a must with any character, especially villains, because it can get a little bit cliche sometimes. You can traumatize your OCs or you can just make them evil for the fun of it. Up to you. Okay, finally, now that your villain has a fleshed out backstory, you need to give them qualities that make them seem like an actual threat, but also slightly vulnerable. For Ash, she has a fire-feathered primal hawk called Pyrus, who was chosen by the spirits to keep the young cat from destroying herself by wielding so many powers. This symbolizes how the spirits are still in control over her, despite being unable to stop her physically because, you guessed it, they're literally just ghosts. What are they going to do about it? Without Pyrus, her powers will be unstable, but while their souls are tethered, she has an edge over the seers of the covens. And the final little vulnerability added to her is that she actually loves him a lot, and the two have a mutual caring relationship, which I find really cute. She's just a cat who loves her pet birdie. In terms of her character design, I followed the Scar trend of making a lithe, dark-coloured cat with a devious smile, and I also wanted to give her like a main colour, just like how Scar is portrayed in green backgrounds a lot of the time. My friends actually helped me out on this one, and they chose purple, quite a natural but feminine colour that surprisingly went with her existing palette quite nicely. I also made Pyrus orange in order to complement this, but I gave him more natural accent colours like blue to push the fact that he's a primal hawk and she is a corrupted wielder of the elements. So that's pretty much it. Now you guys can go off and create your own evil characters. Just make sure to comment your ideas down below because I would love to read some of them. If you have any more video ideas, let me know and subscribe so you don't miss another one. Once again, thank you so much for the endless support, guys. I love you a lot. And that being said, have a wonderful week.